Hey everybody, my name is Dream, and today I'm going to talk to you about why married men cheat. So if we're going to talk about why married men cheat, the first thing that we have to get into is why they choose the type of women that they choose to marry in the first place. Because we know that when it comes to men, we tend to categorize women. There's the women that, we'll just sleep with. There's the women who will date. There's the women who we'll be in a relationship with for 2 and 3 years, and then there's that one woman that we will marry. So what is the difference between all of these women? One has to do with respect. A man is going to categorize you based on how much respect he has for you, and the level of respect that he has for you is going to be based on the level of respect that you have for yourself, because what you have inside is going to be reflected outwardly. So the more respect that you have for yourself, the more respect that's going to be reflected. And a lot of people like to think that they respect and love themselves, but their actions and their words prove otherwise. And it's, while you can say all day that you respect yourself, it's almost like a test. You think you're doing so good on a test, and then when you hand that test in, you get back an F or a D. You have to pay attention to the feedback that life is giving you. Pay attention to how people treat you, because it's a mirror example or reflection of how you treat yourself. So what it all boils down to is what we need. Men and women both have very similar needs. Now we may go about getting those needs or gaining those needs in different ways, but we all need the same thing, and that need is security. So when it comes to marrying a man, you're looking at where you need security, and if he has those things, because we're talking about a lifetime commitment here. So men look at the same thing. We're looking for security as well, and it's emotional security. So when you as a man are looking for a woman, respect plays a large factor in how much emotional security you feel, or we feel, we're going to gain from being with that woman. So we call it the good girl, or the Madonna before she was what we all know today, which was that goody virgin perfect girl. So that's what that guy's looking for, because he sees emotional security in her. Now, of course, this is a false sense of security, because who's to say that just because she's a good girl, or just because he has that image of her, that's who she really is? Or even if that's who she really is she going to be that in 5 and 10 and 15 years? She doesn't know that. He doesn't know that. Anytime that you marry somebody, you're marrying them by faith. No matter if you're a saint or you're a sinner, you're marrying that person completely by faith, because you don't know who you're going to be 5 years from now, and you don't know who that person's going to be 5 years from now. You don't know what your marriage and relationship is going to look like. You're just making a decision based on a hope and a prayer and a whole lot of faith. So back to the reason why married men cheat. It's normally because emotional security is expensive in terms of how much that person is going to gain physically from that point on. The woman who the guys are normally attracted to based on emotional security may not be that physically exciting to them, because remember, a woman who is physically exciting, or who shows a lot, or who's really out of her shell, may hinder him from feeling secure. So the woman that he chooses that's going to make him feel emotionally secure, and I hope you guys still stand with me here, that girl may not be as physically exciting to him as the women who he has categorized as least respectful, the ones who he would never marry, the ones who he wouldn't even walk out in public with. He wouldn't be with that person, but she does provide something that he feels he needs in order to be completely, just fulfilled as a human being. For the most part, he may try to suppress those feelings or those needs of wanting something exciting and or chasing the past again. but over time, it may just come out. It's like steam. If it doesn't come out in actual physical cheating, maybe it'll come out in watching pornography, or maybe it'll come out in very flirtatious action. It's something that he's not getting at home. He's put himself in this predicament because he was afraid of being with the woman who excited him. So he's with the woman who doesn't really excite him but gives him that emotional security. And like I said, the cost of it is now you have this ache and this desire to be with someone who excites you, but you're locked into a marriage. And this is the reason why men cheat, is because that 20% for them is the excitement that goody good girl is not giving him. Just because a guy cheats doesn't make him a bad guy. Just because a woman cheats doesn't make her a bad woman, or it doesn't make any of them unworthy of love. These are people who are just thinking selfishly at the moment. And we are selfish by nature. You couldn't even survive. You couldn't eat if you weren't selfish by nature. But there are a few things that you can do, especially for the guys who, some of, like I said, good guys genuinely don't want to cheat, but really don't know how to get around not cheating, or not visiting the pornography, or, whatever they're doing to pacify that need, or that desperate want. One piece of advice that I would give you guys when you're searching for your wife is to not be afraid of being with a woman who may make you feel emotionally insecure, especially if she doesn't give you any reason to. You just know a little about her past. She tells you her number, and all of a sudden you're running for the hills, or she dresses a certain way. She excites you, but because of your fears, your emotional fears, you decide not to be with her. So I know this is probably the hardest one that I can give you guys, but when it comes to picking a wife, be smart, but don't be scared. The next piece of advice that I give you guys is to communicate with your partner. Now, of course, it's very scary to go to your girlfriend or your wife and tell that person that you're bored. But this is the importance of communication, communicating these things. And this is why relationships fail, because people are too afraid to communicate what their wants and needs are, because they're afraid of hurting the other person. But think about this. What's going to hurt that person more? Finding out that you cheated, or telling that person that you're bored, so that both of you can work on it together? You have to communicate with your partner that you're not getting what you need. And yes, it may sting, but it's not going to hurt as bad as you coming back in the house saying you got the next woman pregnant, or that you gave her a disease. Communicate with your partner. She might be upset at first, but she will appreciate it down the road, because you had the guts and you were man enough to tell her the truth instead of stepping outside of that relationship. One piece of advice that I would give women is to not hold your man emotionally hostage whenever he tells you something that you may not like to hear. No woman wants to hear that her man is bored in the bedroom. But if you start crying and cursing and screaming and ignoring him and doing all these things, you're creating a turbulent environment for him to communicate with you. He's not gonna keep talking to you about things if he knows, if I say this to her, she's gonna go crazy or ballistic on me. Men, they love to diagnose women without having any idea what the words mean, as bipolar or psycho, so don't even give him the ammunition to do that. If he presents something to you, maybe you don't like it, maybe it does sting a little bit, but respect the fact that he was man enough to approach you with that instead of stepping out outside of your relationship. And what I would do is, on every occasion, every once in a while, ask him, how are things, physically? How is my performance? But the way that you ask is, for example, just say something like, 1 out of 10, what do you give me? And let's say he says, I give you an 8.5. And then you ask him, what do I have to do to get to a 10? There are ways of asking these type of questions and getting what you want without hurting the other person in the process. And sometimes things are going to sting a little bit. That's just a part of communication. That's part of two people growing together as one. So yeah, that's my simple advice to you. Guys, don't pick your wives out of fear. Don't pick your girlfriends out of fear. And women, allow him to communicate with you and ask him questions, because he may be really afraid to ask you that question because he doesn't want to hurt your feelings. So create, I always tell you all, create a safe environment for people to communicate with you, even when it's something that you don't want to hear. Because when it's a turbulent environment, you're cutting off that line of communication, and you may be cutting yourself off from some vital information that could save your relationship in the long run. All right, so that's all I have for you this week. I hope this helps everybody. Make sure that you order a copy of A Single Lady's Guide. It's available at my website right now, JareemFord.com. And make sure you follow me on Instagram, Jareem Ford. That's it, JareemFord. Follow me, good stuff there. And I will see you all then. Hotep.